Hey guys, welcome back to Adroit. So in this video we'll be understanding the 5-year plans in India, and this is presented by me, Garvit Seni, and you can follow us on Instagram if you have any doubt regarding anything. You can also find the link of our Instagram ID in the description box below. So now first things first, let us look at the content we'll be covering in this chapter. Number one would be meaning. So first of all, we'll be understanding what is the meaning of this term economic planning. Thereafter, we'll be going through what were the needs of planning in India, why we implemented plans in India. Third is types of planning. What are the different types of planning which we pursue in different economies? Then we'll be understanding what are the types of economies. It is very much related to type of planning because different type of planning is pursued in different type of economies. Thereafter, we'll be going through the long-term period goals of planning in India. What are the long period goals of planning in India? Thereafter, we'll be going through what are the short period goals of planning in India. Then we'll be understanding the features of economic planning before 1991. Because guys, as we know, in 1991, a different kind of policy was introduced in India, which is new economic policy. So everything got changed. So we'll be reading the features of economic planning prior to 1991. How was the planning in India, economic planning in India before 1991? Okay. Thereafter, we'll be going through the achievements of planning. What are the achievements that economic planning commission in India has achieved so far? And at last, we'll be going through the failures of planning, where our economic plans actually failed. Let us start with the video now. So now we'll be understanding the meaning of economic planning. So the term economic planning refers to a system under which a central authority sets a set of targets and specifies a set of programs and policies to achieve those targets within the specified period of time. It means guys, economic planning एक ऐसा system होता है जिसके अंदर central authority जैसे कि government target set करती है और उन टारगेट को कैसे अचीव करें उसके लिए प्रोग्राम्स और पॉलिसी भी सेट करती है ताकि वो जो हमने टारगेट सेट किए उन्हें स्पेसिफाइड टाइम के अंदर हम लोग अचीव कर लें. Now let us look at these facts. As we know guys, what does planning mean? It is very much related to planning we studied in business studies. Planning helps in identifying and achieving objectives, allocating resources, decision making, etc. As we know guys, जैसे हम गेम खेलते हैं तो हम लोग प्लान बनाते हैं, वैसे ही प्लानिंग नेशनल लेवल पे भी उसी तरीके से होती है. बस डिफरेंस ये होता है कि वो नेशनल लेवल पे होता है, जबकि हमारे जो बिजनेस स्टडीज वाला जो प्लानिंग दिया हुआ था वो हमारे मैनेजरियल प्लानिंग होता है, वो बिजनेस के अंदर प्लान होता है. तो प्लानिंग का ऑब्जेक्टिव असल में सेम ही होता है कि आइडेंटिफाई एंड अचीविंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, लोकेटिंग रिसोर्सेज, एलोकेटिंग रिसोर्सेज की कौन कौन सी जगह पे कहाँ पे रिसोर्सेज यूज करने हैं, एंड डिसीजन मेकिंग. प्लानिंग हमारी हेल्प करता है डिसीजन मेकिंग में, एक बेटर डिसीजन लेने में. देयरआफ्टर in India, institution established to pursue economic planning was Planning Commission, established in 1950 under the chairmanship of Professor Mahalanobis. तो guys, इंडिया के अंदर जो हमारा जो इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग को जो देखता था, जो इंस्टीट्यूशन हमारी इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग को एडमिनिस्टर करता था, उसे संभालता था, वो था हमारा प्लानिंग कमीशन, जो कि 1950 में शुरू हुआ था अंडर द चेयरमैनशिप ऑफ प्रोफेसर मेहलानोबिस. अब ये क्यों शुरू हुआ था इसके बारे में हम आगे जानेंगे. एंड प्लानिंग कमीशन वॉज रिप्लेस्ड बाय नीति आयोग इन 2015. 2015 में प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी ने जो हमारा प्लानिंग कमीशन था उसे रिप्लेस कर दिया नीति आयोग से. तो अब वी हैव एज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग इज नीति आयोग. ठीक है गाइस. एंड प्लानिंग इज एनलिस्टेड इन 7th शेड्यूल ऑफ इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. एज वी नो, इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में बहुत सारे शेड्यूल्स होते हैं, तो उनमें से प्लानिंग 7th शेड्यूल में है, दिया हुआ है. So guys, after covering the meaning of economic planning, let's move to the need for economic planning in India. कि आखिर इंडिया में economic planning की जरूरत क्या हुई? So guys, as we all know that India was a stagnant as well as a backward economy, क्योंकि we were under a continuous exploitation by the British government. So it was necessary for the government of post-independence to provide us support and goals. So it was necessary for the government to jump into the process of industrialization, to jump into economic planning in order to provide Indian economy a direction, a support and goals. तो जैसा कि हमने पिछली स्लाइड में देखा था कि आखिर इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग का इंपॉर्टेंस क्या होता है, तो इंडियन इकोनॉमी, इसीलिए इंडिया ने जो हमारे जो पॉलिसी मेकर्स थे उन्होंने इसलिए डिसाइड किया कि वो इंडिया के अंदर इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग परस्यू करेंगे, क्योंकि इंडिया एक बहुत ज्यादा पिछड़ी इकोनॉमी थी और उसे जरूरत थी कि गवर्नमेंट उसे सपोर्ट दे, उसे गोल्स दे. तो इसलिए गवर्नमेंट ने सोचा कि वो इंडियन इकोनॉमी के लिए इकोनॉमिक प्लानिंग करेगी कि कैसे कैसे कौन कौन से टारगेट्स अचीव करने हैं हमें, कितने समय में अचीव करने हैं, ताकि इंडिया की जो इकोनॉमी है वो पुश हो सके, वो उसको एक बूस्ट मिल सके. सो एज रिटन हेयर, Indian economy was stagnant and backward at the time of independence after exploited by British. So it was necessary for the government to provide Indian economy a direction, support and goals. Let's move to the next topic, which is types of economic planning. So different type of economic planning is pursued in different type of economies. So there are mainly two type of economic planning which we pursue in mainly three type of economies. So first one being directive planning. So what is directive planning? Directive planning is pursued in capitalist economy. So what is capitalist economy? Capitalist economy is a type of economy where there is no or very minimal role of government in the economic activities. So there is no direct participation of government in the economy. Government can just provide direction to private sector so that the interest of poor does not get compromised. So now considering this, that directive planning is pursued in capitalist economy. And what is capitalist economy? The type of economy where there is no direct participation of government. We can make a definition of directive planning out of this, which is directive planning is a system in which there is no direct participation of government and government just directs the private sector. ये कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी में फॉलो होती है, इसलिए इसके अंदर गवर्नमेंट का ज्यादा पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं होता. गवर्नमेंट जस्ट प्राइवेट सेक्टर को डायरेक्शन देती है ताकि जो गरीब लोग हैं, मार्जिनलाइज्ड लोग हैं, उनको नुकसान ना हो, उनका कॉम्प्रोमाइज करके प्राइवेट सेक्टर ग्रो ना करें. सेकेंड टाइप ऑफ प्लानिंग इज कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्लानिंग. सो कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्लानिंग इज परस्यूड इन सोशलिस्ट और मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी. So what is socialist or mixed economy? These are types of economies where there is direct participation of government in the process of economic activities, in the process of growth and development. So government directly participate करती है economy में in the form of public sector. सोशलिस्ट और मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी में गवर्नमेंट का डायरेक्ट पार्टिसिपेशन होता है गवर्नमेंट इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज में. सो वी कैन मेक अ डेफिनेशन आउट ऑफ दिस. Out of our understanding, we can make a definition. Comprehensive planning is a system in which there is direct participation of government and so there is the existence of public sector as well as private sector. तो इसके अंदर प्राइवेट सेक्टर और पब्लिक सेक्टर दोनों होते हैं क्योंकि ये सोशलिस्ट और मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमीज के अंदर यूज की जाती है. एज वी नो गाइज, इंडिया में कौन सी प्लानिंग यूज होती है? आपको पता होगा, इंडिया में कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्लानिंग यूज होती है. वाई? बिकॉज इंडिया यूज टू बी सोशलिस्ट इकोनॉमी प्रायर टू 1991 एंड नाउ इट्स अ मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी. तो गवर्नमेंट तो इंडिया के अंदर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्लानिंग यूज होती है. इंडिया has still not become completely a capitalist economy. So India can be considered a socialist or a mix of both capitalist and socialist, which is mixed economy, but cannot be considered a capitalist economy as of now. So India में comprehensive planning होती है. Moving on to our next slide, we'll be covering the type of economies which are this: capitalist, socialist and mixed economy. Moving on to next slide. We have type of economies. So what are the type of economies? We have capitalist economy, we have socialist economy, and we have mixed economy. So we'll be understanding all these three type of economies one by one separately. Number one being capitalist economy. So as told earlier, what is capitalist economy? In this, there is private ownership of economic units. कि इसके अंदर जो ओनरशिप होती है कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी में, वो प्राइवेट ओनरशिप होती है. वो प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल्स के बिजनेसेस होते हैं इसके अंदर कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी में. एंड इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव इज प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन. क्योंकि आपको पता है, जैसे जो प्राइवेट कंपनीज होती हैं उनका जो मेन मोटिव होता है वो होता है प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइज करना. एंड देयर इज लिमिटेड रोल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इन कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमीज. ओके, क्योंकि सारा जो ओनरशिप होती है वो प्राइवेट सेक्टर के हाथों में होती है, तो देयर इज वेरी लिमिटेड रोल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. अब हम देख लेते हैं इसके मेरिट्स एंड डीमेरिट्स क्या है. What are its merits and what are its demerits? Okay, so merit is it promotes self-interest which maximizes profit leading to high GDP growth. कि ये जो कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी होते हैं, हमने देखा कि इनका मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन होता है, इसलिए ये जीडीपी ग्रोथ के अंदर बहुत ज्यादा हेल्पफुल होते हैं. ओके, सेकंड इज डीमेरिट. इसके नुकसान क्या क्या हैं? इट इग्नोर्स कलेक्टिव इंटरेस्ट सो डायरेक्टेड टू सेटिस्फाई नीड्स ऑफ द रिच. ये सोसाइटी के वेलफेयर पे ध्यान नहीं देती, ये केवल प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन पे ध्यान देती है, जिसकी वजह से ये केवल रिच सेक्शन जो होता है सोसाइटी का, उसकी नीड्स ही पूरा करने में लगी रहती है. केवल इससे रिच सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी की नीड्स पूरी होती हैं, उनको सेटिस्फाई उनका सेटिस्फेक्शन इसके अंदर सबसे ज्यादा मायने रखता है. सोसाइटी के जो वेलफेयर है उसको ज्यादा मायने नहीं दिए जाते. Second type of economy is socialist economy. So what is socialist economy? In socialist economy we have public ownership. कि जो हमारी जो ओनरशिप होती है वो पब्लिक हैंड्स में होती है, वो सोसाइटी के हाथ में होती है. सो ऑब्जेक्टिव इज सोशल वेलफेयर, ताकि सोसाइटी का वेलफेयर हो, इसका ये ऑब्जेक्टिव होता है. एंड देयर इज डायरेक्ट रोल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. वी नो गाइज, देयर इज पब्लिक सेक्टर, और पब्लिक सेक्टर को कौन मैनेज करता है? पब्लिक सेक्टर इज मैनेज्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट. सो देयर इज डायरेक्ट रोल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. सो व्हाट आर इट्स मेरिट्स एंड डीमेरिट्स? लेट्स लुक एट देम टू. So it promotes, so socialist economy promotes equality in income distribution. So ये बिल्कुल ही खिलाफ होती हैं पब्लिक सेक्टर, जो सोशलिस्ट इकोनॉमी खिलाफ होती है कि किसी एक प्राइवेट इंडिविजुअल के हाथ में बहुत सारा पैसा हो और बाकी लोग गरीब हों. इट प्रमोट्स इक्वलिटी इन इनकम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, कि जो हमारी जो इनकम है वो बराबर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो हर एक इंसान में. ओके, डीमेरिट इज जीडीपी ग्रोथ रिमेन्स लो बिकॉज प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन इज नॉट ऑब्जेक्टिव. हमें पता है कि इसका जो मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव होता है वो सोशल वेलफेयर होता है हमारा, इसका सोशलिस्ट इकोनॉमी का प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन ऑब्जेक्टिव नहीं होता है, तो इसलिए हमारी जीडीपी ग्रोथ भी बहुत स्लो, धीरे धीरे होती है. The third type of economy is mixed economy. So what is mixed economy? It has mixed features of both socialist as well as capitalist economy. So there is private and public ownership. We have both private as well as public ownership, and the objective is both profit and social welfare. क्योंकि हमने बताया कि ये सोशलिस्ट और कैपिटलिस्ट का मिक्स होती हैं, तो इसलिए इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव दोनों होता है, प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन भी और सोशल वेलफेयर भी. थर्ड, रोल ऑफ बोथ प्राइवेट एंड गवर्नमेंट, क्योंकि इसके ना प्राइवेट और पब्लिक सेक्टर दोनों होते हैं, इसलिए रोल भी दोनों का होता है, प्राइवेट का भी और गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर का भी. अब हम देख लेते हैं इसके मेरिट्स और डीमेरिट्स, फायदे और नुकसान इसके क्या क्या हैं. मेरिट इज वेरी सिंपल, कंबाइंस मेरिट्स ऑफ सोशलिस्ट एंड कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी. जो सोशलिस्ट और कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी होती है उसके फायदे इसके ना मिक्स हो जाते हैं, दोनों के फायदे मिलते हैं हमें मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी में. एंड डीमेरिट इज पब्लिक सेक्टर रिमेन्स लेस एफिशिएंट कंपेयर टू प्राइवेट सेक्टर. तो गाइज आप लोगों को पता है इंडिया इज अ मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी, सो हम लोग काफी हद तक इसे रिलेट कर सकते हैं. देयर इज गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स विच इज अ पब्लिक सेक्टर एंड देयर आर प्राइवेट स्कूल्स. तो आप लोग खुद ही पता लगा सकते हैं कि प्राइवेट स्कूल्स आर मोर एफिशिएंट देन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स. जो लोग होते हैं वो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस देते हैं प्राइवेट स्कूल्स को. Okay, so these are three type of economies that we studied. Number one being capitalist, then socialist, and then mix of both, which is mixed economy. So after completing the type of economic plans and type of economies, let's move to the long period objectives of planning. So what achievements are we actually trying to achieve through planning? What are the objectives we are trying to achieve through planning? So there are actually 5 objectives we are pursuing our plan for. Why we are planning? We are planning to achieve all these 5 objectives. We want a good GDP growth, we want full employment, we want equitable distribution of resources, we want modernization, and we want self-sufficiency. So to achieve all these objectives, we are pursuing economic planning. Let's look at them one by one as to what these actually mean and how they can be achieved. So the first one being GDP growth. So what does GDP growth mean? It means total output produced in a country in a given year. So to ensure a high GDP growth, we have to fulfill 2 responsibilities. We have to look at 2 things. Number one, resource base of our country, that we have a good resource base. We have capital goods, we have machineries like that, we have a good resource base. And second, we have high productivity, which can be achieved through technology. So we can state that one of the objective of planning, economic planning in India is GDP growth. And GDP growth depends upon 2 factors: resource base of the country, and productivity through technology. The second objective of planning, why we pursue plan, is full employment. So full employment means that we are able to provide employment to all those people who are able and willing to work. So the focus while achieving full employment, our focus is on inclusive growth. We have to ensure that while achieving full employment, we also need to consider that this full employment is inclusive. So what does inclusive growth mean? Inclusive growth mean 2 things. That first one, that more and more people should participate. More and more participation. That more and more people should participate in the process of generating employment, that more and more people are employed. So this is the way by which we can achieve inclusive growth while achieving full employment. And second one being income distribution. So to make sure that while achieving full employment, we are also achieving inclusive growth, we have to consider these 2 things. If these 2 things are fulfilled, it means that we are not only achieving full employment, but we are also achieving inclusive growth. The third objective we are pursuing our planning for is equitable distribution of resources. We want resources to be distributed among different sections and different members of society equally. Why? Because we do not want that the income gets accumulated in just some few members of the society. We don't want that a few people in the economy is getting richer and richer, and most of the population in the economy is getting poorer. So we want an equitable distribution of resources, that resources are distributed in the members of society on the basis of their capabilities, not on the basis of their economic powers. Next point is modernization. So our objective of planning is to modernize our economy. So how can we modernize our society and economy? So first of all, let us understand what modernization means. It refers to continuously, gradually, and continuously updating and consistently adopting modern technology in the process of growth. That we are continuously updating and adopting new technology in order to improve our productivity. So modernization, so there are two examples of modernization mainly which we have had experienced in the past. One being Green Revolution. That was one step towards modernization. So Green Revolution has actually done a lot more good in the agriculture sector. So that was a good step in the process of modernization. And second being IT revolution. So these two revolutions have highly modernized our economy, have highly modernized our country. Okay. Then the next long period objective of planning, why we pursue planning, is self-sufficiency. That we want to be self-sufficient. We do not want other countries to control us. For example, in 1965, we used to import food grains. We used to import even food grains from USA. So when India and Pakistan was having war, USA was continuously pressurizing India that it would stop exporting food grains to India if it does not stop war with Pakistan. So it means that our planning is also aimed at making us self-sufficient. We need to be self-sufficient in order to reduce the political interference of other countries in our country. For example, USA controlled at that time our economy. So we need to be self-sufficient. We need to be sufficient enough that at least we can produce essential food grains and essential commodities in our political boundaries, that we can produce enough food for the people of our country. We do not need to rely on other economies. Let's go to the short period objectives of planning. What are the objectives we pursue to fulfill our long period objectives of planning? So before starting straight into what are the short period objectives, let us first of all understand what actually short period objectives refer to. So number one point is vary from plan to plan depending upon current needs. So the needs of the economy keep changing after every few years. So these short period objectives keep varying with with different needs, with different period of needs, with different plan to plan. These keep on changing. The second point is complementary to long-term plans. What do I mean when I say these are complementary? It means that it helps achieving the long-term plan. These short period objectives are undertaken in order to fulfill our long period objectives of planning. And since 1950, we have had experienced 12 5-year plans and 6 annual plans. So since 1950, 12 5-year plans and 6 annual plans have been adopted. Now let us understand what are these short period objectives which have so far been pursued in our economy. So the first short period plan we pursued was from 1951 to 1956. These are 5-year plans. So all plans you will be seeing here, and here would be 5-year plans, and in between there are some annual plans. So let us understand them one by one. So first 5-year plan was from 1951 to 1956. The objective of this plan was increase in agricultural production, and second, equitable distribution of production, income and wealth. Second 5-year plan was from 56 to 61. Its focus was increase in industrial production and development of heavy industry. Third 5-year plan was from 1961 to 1966. Its objective was self-sufficiency in food grain, as we got to know in the previous slide about the USA and Pakistan case. So in the 5-year plan between 1961 to 1966, our policymakers started feeling like we have to adopt some plans related to self-sufficiency. We have to make ourselves self-sufficient. So they come up with this plan, this 5-year plan, which is third economic plan, which aims at self-sufficiency in food grain, second generation of employment opportunities, and third reduction in inequality. Then came 3 annual plans. Between 1966 to 1969, we had 3 annual plans. As we know, guys, the name of the chapter is 5-year plans of India in India. So the chapter keeps revolving around 5-year plans only. We are not going to discuss annual plans as of now. And the fourth 5-year plan was from 1969 to 1974, and the focus was accelerating the process of growth and price stability. Fifth 5-year plan was from 1974 to 1979, and its objective was rising the living standard with a focus on weaker sections of the society. Then came another annual plan from 1979 to 1980. So we had just one annual plan in between. Then we had sixth 5-year plan, which was from 1980 to 1985. Focus was removal of poverty, reduction of inequality, development of infrastructure. Then seventh annual plan was from 1985 to 1990. The goal was, the objective or the focus was generation of employment opportunities and increase in agricultural productivity. Then came 2 annual plans from 1990 to 1992. And then came 8th 5-year plan, which was from 1992 to 1997. And the focus was fuller utilization of manpower by the turn of the century. And second, universalization of elementary education. And number third, strengthening of infrastructure. Then came 9th 5-year plan, which was from 1997 to 22. So its focus was on agricultural and rural development, growth with price stability, and checking the growth of population. Then came 10th 5-year plan, which was from 2002 to 2007, and the focus was improving the quality of life through better health and education facilities and improved levels of consumption and reduction in inequality through inclusive growth. As we studied in the previous slide, that it was also our long-term objective of planning. And then came the 11th plan from 2007 to 2012. Its focus was multiple targets covering not only growth but also poverty reduction, improving quality of education and public health services, strategy of second green revolution, fourth, generating high quality job, and last, protection of environment. And then came the 12th annual plan, which was the last 5-year plan we have had pursued in the recent years, which was from 2012 to 2017, and its focus was on faster, sustainable, and more inclusive growth. Now, after a short period objective of planning in India, let's move to features of economic planning pursued in India before 1991. As you guys know, in 1991, a new economic policy was adopted. So prior to 1991, the features of economic planning was different than the features of economic planning after 1991. So we are going to understand the features of economic planning prior to 1991. Okay. So the first feature is heavy reliance on public sector. So as you guys know, 17 key industries were reserved for public sector. Whereas just 12 industries were given to private hands. So you can observe how much reliant we were on public sector. Next point is regulated development of private sector. So while expanding, private sector had to face many obstacles, like there were licensing, there were many other regulations as well. Businesses needs to register themselves, there were registration, etc. So the development of private sector was very much regulated by licensing and other things. Next point is protection of small scale industry and regulation on large scale industries. So this point is very much related to the second point, because large scale industry was regulated through several acts. For example, there was monopolistic and restrictive trade practice acts, etc. And small scale industries were given comparative freedom because these were the industry which were considered to be good to provide more and more employment. And these were the small scale industry were highly offered protection from competition. So government had offered them protection from competitions by reserving some of the key industries for just small scale industries. For example, there was ready-made garments for which just small scale industry could produce, so that there was a reserved environment for small scale industries. They were not exposed to competition. Next point is development of strategically significant industries. So government paid a high importance of developing strategically significant industries. So what are strategically significant industries? These are the industries on which the growth of other industries depend. For example, government highly paid attention on electricity generation industry. electricity generation industry, iron and steel industry. So these are kind of industries which are considered to be strategically significant. Next point is focus on saving and investment. You would have already studied, guys, that in order to ensure a long term progress of economy, it is important to take care of saving and investment. So for this, government had provided many subsidies and many capital grants for on saving and investment, so that saving and investment could be promoted and it could ensure a good long term growth. So next point is protection from foreign competition. So how Indian industries was not exposed to foreign competition by imposing heavy duty on imports. So there was heavy duty on imports, so that imports could be discouraged and the domestic industries could be promoted to expand, to be successful while offering them protection from foreign competition. So it was highly oriented towards domestic industry. That domestic industry is given high priority. And then we have focus on import substitution. So what does import substitution mean, guys? Is that whatever commodities we import from abroad, we get it manufactured in our domestic territories itself. So government was highly promoting producing goods and services which we used to import from other countries. Okay, next point is restriction on foreign capital. So government was not encouraging foreign direct investment or FDI. Rather, government was more preferring to have foreign loans from abroad rather than having foreign direct investment, because government was afraid that by encouraging foreign direct investment, foreign investors are more likely to control our economy because they will set monopoly in India. So there was a restriction over foreign capital. Although loans from abroad was allowed, but the foreign direct investment was highly discouraged. Then we have centralized planning. It means, guys, that most of the plans were formulated by the central authority, which in India is central government. So all the plans was formulated by central government, and the state government was just needed to align their plans with what was formulated by central government. So it was centralized planning, means the plan was formulated by central government. So now let's move to the next topic, which is achievements of economic planning in India. What are the points which indicate that economic planning have been a success in India? Let's go through them one by one. So the first achievement or success of economic planning in India is an increase in national income. As you can look at the graph given here, as you can look at the graphical representation of increase in national income during different 5-year plans in India, you can see the trend that the national income is continuously rising, though there are some fluctuations, but the end result is that the national income has risen from 4.6% in the first 5-year plan to 6.8% during the 12th 5-year plan. Second achievement of economic planning is a rise in saving and investment. As you can see, in 1950-51 we had a rate of investment at 9.3%, whereas in 2017-18 we started investing 32.3%. So the rate of investment increased from below 10% to more than 30%. Next point is increase in per capita income. So the per capita income of India has increased tremendously. During first plan, our growth rate of per capita income was just 2.7%, whereas during the 12th economic plan, our growth rate of per capita income went from 2.7% to 5.5%. So it was 2.7% in the first 5-year plan, whereas it went to 5.5% during 12th economic plan. So it shows another success of economic planning in India. Next point is transformations in agriculture. So the transformations in agriculture sector is owing to two kinds of reforms our policymakers have introduced so far. Number one being land reforms. So as you guys know, there were different land reforms which were introduced. For example, there was a ceiling on land holding and redistribution of land. There was abolition of intermediaries between the state and the tillers of the soil, etc. And the next point which brought transformation in agriculture was technological improvement. So as you know, the Green Revolution was introduced. Green Revolution happened. So there was an introduction of HYV seeds, which is called high yielding variety seeds, which is a technological improvement in the field of agriculture. So these are the two things of Green Revolution of economic planning which have transformed our agriculture sector. So the next achievement of economic planning in India is growth and diversification of industries. Now look at these two facts. During 11th five-year plan, our industrial growth was 7.2%, which is one of the highest in the world. Second fact is that it is owing to the economic planning in India that our economy has become one of the largest industrial economies in the world. Next success of economic planning in India is economic infrastructure. So we know what is economic infrastructure. These are those infrastructural facilities which directly contribute to a good economy. So it constitutes of electricity, irrigation facilities, transport and communication, etc. And it is owing to the economic planning that our railway network has become one of the largest railway network in the world. And second point is that when we got independence, our power generation capacity was just 2,300 megawatt, where in comparison to 3,50,000 plus megawatt today. Next point is social infrastructure. So our social infrastructure has also improved. For example, we have now more hospitals, we now have more schools, and it can be understood with two facts, like the death rate during at the time of independence was 27 per thousand. Whereas talking about today, it stands 6.9 per thousand. So you can see how great the difference has been, how greatly we have improved in death rate. Now let us look at average life expectancy as well. At the time of independence, our average life expectancy was just 32 years. Whereas today it stands at 69.4 years. So India has improved in death rate and average life expectancy as well. It is owing to social infrastructure, and it was because of economic planning. Next point is employment. So India has provided massive employment during the course of these economic plans. So during the 11th plan, our unemployment rate came down from 8.3% in 24-5 to 5.6% in 2011-12. So you can observe how well we have improved in employment as well. So the next point is international trade. So our international trade used to be just worth of rupees 792 crore rupees, which has now increased to 60 lakh crore rupees. So how much we have improved in international trade as well. And also, as discussed earlier, India used to be an exporter of primary goods and an importer of final goods, whereas this scenario has changed during the course of these 5-year plans. Now India is more of a final good exporter than an exporter of primary goods. So this is also one of the achievement of economic planning in India. Going through the success of economic planning in India, let's move to failure of economic planning in India. So what are those points which indicate that economic planning has not been as successful as our policymakers thought it to be? So even after many economic plans, there are still many areas where Indian economic planning has not been as successful as it was thought. India has still not got rid of rampant poverty, high inflation rate, unemployment, inadequate infrastructural facilities, and income inequalities. So what have been major reasons which have left these important issues unsolved? So as claimed by United Nations, these reasons, these are corruption, red tapeism and bad implementation which paralyzed economic planning to provide India a better future. So these are corruption, red tapeism and bad implementation. So what does it mean? It means that to make economic planning more effective in India, India need to address these key problems, which are corruption, red tapeism and bad implementation. These are the three key areas which have paralyzed economic planning to provide us a better future. So with this note, I want to end this class. Thank you. If you like this video, make sure that you hit that big fat thumbs up and share this video with your friends and subscribe to this YouTube channel, which is Adroit. And if you have any doubt or suggestion, or if you want to get access of this PowerPoint slides, then you can DM us on this Instagram ID, which is Adroit_GK. So thank you.